Hi, my name is Rhiannon. I'm 40 years old. I've been sober for 6.5 years. Well, I grew up in a small town of Princeton, Iowa, right outside of LeClaire. My parents were teenagers when I was born, so I was raised by my mother and my grandmother. I saw my dad on the weekends, so he was only 16 years old, so he was very young. My parents were very young. But I had a really good childhood. My grandma was a Christian, and so she told me about Jesus when I was little. When I was 12 years old, I had my first exposure to drugs. My stepmother gave me some pot, and she would smoke weed in front of me, but I hated it because I always thought weed was bad, and I was like, I wish you wouldn't do that. Well, then one day, she was smoking weed next to me, and I was smoking a cigarette, and she just handed me this blue bong, and she goes, try it. And so I was like, okay, and I tried it. And I thought it was so cool because I thought she was so cool. You know, I looked up to her. She did my hair and my makeup all the time. Like, she let me smoke cigarettes. And then she would continue to give me pot. Every weekend I came over there and, you know, I'd have some weed to take home to smoke with my friends. I was cool because I always had a sack of weed, right? And then I had my first experience with cocaine when I was 15. And I experienced meth when I was 18. And then I got married when I was 18. I had my first child at 17. I got divorced at 24, and that is when I started to go out and experiment with other drugs like ecstasy and crack and drinking a lot and going out to the clubs and stuff like that. And I did that for several years, and then meth came back into my life. I didn't think I was an addict, you know what I mean? I was just trying to have fun. You know, have excitement, have a thrill, you know what I mean? That's what I was seeking, was just fun. And then I would try to manage the life, like be responsible and party. And I'm like, work hard, party hard, right? Like, work hard, party harder. But that doesn't work out at all. In fact, it's not, like, you'll end up either in jail or dead or in hospital, losing your kids. And doing those things also makes you do things that you wouldn't normally do, like stealing from people or places you wouldn't normally, you know, it just turns you into a different person after you continue to do that. You know, at first you're just like, oh, this is kind of crazy. But then it turns into a lifestyle. You kind of transform into somebody else. And I lost my job, my car, my home. So then I was living at my grandmother's, still running and being a crazy girl, getting away with it though, you know, being the weekend mom, partying during the week, and then being a strung out mom on the weekends, thinking that I was balancing somehow that life. The drug lies to you. The drug tells you that you are all-knowing. Oh, okay, so the drug makes you feel like you are your own God, if that makes sense, that you figure things out. You're resourceful, you're smart, you're strong, you have all the energy, and you can do anything that you set your mind out to. And you kind of can, because when I think back on some of the things that I got away with, that I did, that I wouldn't have even the slightest bit of courage to do now, that was the lie of the drug, you know. It makes you feel like you're on top of the world, but it's a lie. And then the law caught up with me, and I started to go to jail, and I got put on probation, and then my PO put a warrant out for my arrest. And I was homeless. I didn't have anywhere to go. My family wouldn't let me come around. I couldn't see my kids. Was in a very unhealthy relationship, abusive relationship. And I woke up every morning wondering what I was going to do. I had gotten into a domestic fight with the person I was with, and he had left, and in that moment I had this crucifix chain in my hand, and just something in me just started to cry and pray to it and ask God to save me from this life. Like, I just didn't know who else, I didn't know what else, you know, so I just cried out for God to save me from this lifestyle. And I called my mom and I told her I was ready. It had been 10 months of running. And I called my mom and she picked me up a few days later and took me to the jail. I had a revelation in there. It was a revelation of peace somehow. I was reading things. I was reading these books, and I picked up a book that was talking about a place called 180, which I had heard of before, but I didn't really know much about. And it was a really awesome book that gave me a lot of hope. And the weird thing was my PO came to see me the next day, and he gave me an option. He said I could either go to Mitchellville or I could do drug court and go to 180. And I was like, I'll take 180 for 200, please. Like, I would really like to try this out because I didn't think that would really be an option for me. And 180 did something like they introduced me. It was like they introduced me to a relationship with God. Like, I knew of a God, and I knew he would, like my grandma told me, he loved me, and I knew that he was, you know, all powerful, right? But I didn't know the personal part of it.
It's just nice to have some positive females to ride through the storm with me. My past experiences, I did it alone, so it's just nice to have a better support system than before.
What 180 really did for me was provided a new community. It was like a collection of people speaking life into me, and I don't believe it was them. I believe that God was speaking to me through them, what he wanted me to know, how he felt about me. And it came out in Bible studies, it came out in worship songs, it came out in my baptism, it came out in a lot of ways. And they would talk about this relationship, you know, they would talk about not being afraid to talk to God about anything, and to know that no matter what, he has unlimited grace for you, and to just trust him. And like, do you know how freeing that is? Because you don't really know this, but your soul wants that really bad. Jesus was the friend of sinners. Like, I didn't know that Jesus. I didn't know that we were who he was looking for, that we were the kind of people that he wanted to show love to. And I'm like, that's amazing. I was so scared and alone, and it felt cold. And I just felt like, how did I get here? Just a couple of months ago, when I was here, because of what I did here, like I asked and I trusted and I followed and I followed. I did what I knew what I was supposed to do. Even though I was scared, I knew that it was gonna be okay. Because it was really hard that first 14 months. It was really hard. Not really that hard to stay sober, but it was hard to understand that even though it was not fun at first, that it was doing good things, if that makes sense. Because the program, like, there are fun moments, yes, but it is work. Like, in here and in here, it's a lot of work. The classes that you do, the things you need to share, the emotional work you have to put in. So I have 3 daughters, Angelina, Brittany, and Chloe. They are my pride and joy. They were very hurt when I was out there not being the mother that I should have been. But since I've come to 180 and I've changed my life and my kids have been able to see this transformation, it was like they tell me I got my mom back, but times 10, you know what I mean? Because it made me better. So I'm gonna get married next year, come hell or high water, because we've been engaged for like 2-3 years now. I just got this job at Little Caesars. It's my store, so I have my own store now, which I thought would never happen, but I always thought would be cool if it did, you know, because I've always worked in the food industry, and I've always, like, you know, I've been in like management positions, but never actually had my own store. I got this opportunity, and so I'm having a lot of fun with it. It is a lot of fun. I didn't just get to be restored back to who I was, like, I evolved. I transformed into something else. It was like I had to go through the murk first. Like, you don't get to be a champion without going through the hard work. Like, you don't get to have the battle scars without going through battle. Like, you don't get to have a testimony without going through hell first. You know, I wouldn't have this testimony if I hadn't gone through, not saying I made a good decision by making a bad decision, but by any means, but the decision I made to surrender, it takes a lot of faith and trust and commitment to wanting a better life, because I love this life.